A successful black CEO boards a flight, ready to close a major deal that could shift the future of an airline. But when a flight attendant forces him out of his first-class seat to accommodate a white passenger, humiliation turns into a chain reaction. Within minutes, decisions made in anger and principle shake the airline to its core. By the time the plane lands, a $120 million budget is frozen, and the world sees what happens when dignity is dismissed. He stepped onto the jet bridge with the calm confidence of a man who had spent years earning his place at the very top. Marcus Ellison, 45 years old, impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit, carried nothing more than a slim leather briefcase and the quiet authority that came from running a billion-dollar tech conglomerate. He had flown countless times before, but this flight carried a weight unlike any other. In just a few hours, he was scheduled to meet with the board of Horizon Air, a struggling airline in the middle of budget negotiations. What they didn't know was that Marcus's company was about to inject hundreds of millions into a partnership that could keep them afloat. The meeting would decide the airline's future, and tonight's flight was supposed to give him the time to prepare. The first-class cabin smelled faintly of leather and fresh coffee as he found his seat, 2A by the window. He settled in, adjusted his cufflinks, and allowed himself a rare moment of quiet satisfaction. The flight attendants moved briskly, offering champagne to the early boarders. Marcus declined with a polite smile, asking instead for water. His mind was already moving, rehearsing the points he would raise, the questions he expected, the way he would steer the conversation when millions, no, hundreds of millions, were on the line. Boarding continued. A stream of passengers filed past him into economy. Marcus barely noticed until a sharp, entitled voice cut through the cabin. "Excuse me, there must be some mistake. That's my seat." Marcus looked up to see a middle-aged white man, red-faced from the rush of boarding, pointing directly at him. He held a first-class boarding pass, his lips curled in irritation. Before Marcus could answer, a young flight attendant hurried over, glancing nervously between the two men. She leaned toward Marcus. "Sir, could I see your boarding pass, please?" Marcus handed it over without hesitation. She scanned it quickly, her expression faltering for just a second. "Seat 2A, yes, that's correct." She turned to the other man. "Sir, you're actually in 2B, just here on the aisle." But the passenger wasn't satisfied. He sneered, shaking his head. "No. I paid for 2A. I always fly here. Fix it." Marcus felt a flicker of annoyance, but his voice stayed calm. "It's no problem. The pass clearly says 2A. This is my seat." The attendant hesitated, caught in the tension. Marcus could see it, the way her posture stiffened, the way her eyes darted to the angry man, then back to him. Finally, she lowered her voice. "Sir, could you possibly move to another seat? Just to make this easier?" Marcus blinked in disbelief. "You're asking me to move from the seat I paid for?" The white passenger folded his arms, smirking as if victory was inevitable. Other travelers had slowed in the aisle, sensing something was wrong. The cabin had grown uncomfortably quiet. "I understand," the attendant whispered urgently. "But it would help us avoid a scene." Marcus's jaw tightened. He wanted to stand his ground, but he also knew the power of perception. A black man arguing on a plane could escalate in ways he had seen too many times before. So, with deliberate restraint, he picked up his briefcase and rose. The murmur of whispers followed as he was escorted further back, placed in a business-class seat near the partition. He sat down slowly, his face unreadable. Inside, though, a storm was building. He had faced discrimination before. He had worked twice as hard, stayed twice as late, endured assumptions, dismissals, and disrespect. But this, being publicly removed from his rightful place to satisfy another man's ego, this stung in a way he couldn't let pass. The plane took off, climbing into the night sky. Marcus opened his laptop, but the words on the screen blurred. He kept seeing the smug face of the man in 2A, the nervous smile of the attendant, the unspoken message that his dignity was negotiable. When the Wi-Fi connection stabilized, Marcus logged into his secure company network. His fingers hovered over the keys for a moment before he began typing. He drafted a message to his executive assistant. Cancel the Horizon Air presentation. Freeze all negotiations immediately. Suspend the $120 million allocation until further notice. He read the message twice, then hit send. A simple instruction, but one that carried the weight of an avalanche. While the cabin lights dimmed and passengers drifted to sleep, Marcus stayed awake, reviewing documents and making calls through the encrypted line. His assistant's voice crackled through his earpiece, tense but obedient. Understood, sir. I'll notify the board. This will stop everything in its tracks. By the time the plane landed hours later, the news had already begun to ripple through corporate channels. Horizon Air's planned budget expansion, a lifeline meant to stabilize their struggling finances, was suddenly on ice. Analysts woke up to chaos. Emails flooded in. Shareholders demanded answers. Marcus disembarked calmly, his expression steady, betraying nothing of the storm behind his eyes. The man who had taken his seat strutted off the plane first, still radiating self-satisfaction, completely unaware of the chain reaction his arrogance had set off. Outside the terminal, a sleek black car waited. Marcus slid into the back seat, pulling out his phone. He dialed the chairman of Horizon Air directly. The man answered groggily, his voice thick with confusion. Marcus? What's going on? I just got word everything's been suspended. We were counting on that deal. Marcus's tone was even, but every word carried steel. I was counting on being treated with basic respect on your airline. I was removed from my seat in first class tonight. Not for any mistake, but to satisfy another passenger who thought he belonged there more than I did. Your staff complied. That tells me everything I need to know about your culture, your values, and what my partnership would mean to you. There was silence on the other end, then a sputtering attempt at damage control. That must be a misunderstanding. Please let us fix it. Marcus cut him off. You won't fix it with words. You'll fix it when your company learns that dignity isn't negotiable. Until then, my $120 million will stay where it is. He ended the call without waiting for a reply. As the car pulled onto the freeway, Marcus leaned back, closing his eyes. He knew the headlines would come. He knew reporters would piece the story together, investors would panic, and Horizon Air's leadership would scramble to contain the fallout. He also knew none of it compared to the quiet, personal victory of refusing to accept humiliation and silence. For once, the balance had shifted. The seat they had taken from him was worth nothing. But the lesson they were about to learn, that was worth far more. And as the city lights blurred past his window, Marcus allowed himself a rare smile, not of satisfaction, but of resolve. This was bigger than him. It was about every time someone had been told to step aside, every time respect had been conditional. Tonight, one arrogant passenger and one weak decision had cost an airline $120 million. Tomorrow, it would serve as a reminder that some seats cannot be taken, no matter how high the price. Stories like this remind us how much dignity and respect matter, no matter who you are or what title you hold. If this story struck a chord with you, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes in standing up for what's right. Your voice matters, and together, we can make sure stories like this are never ignored.